Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And it's time for an Am I a Chap? One of my favourite parts of our YouTube channel here, where you gentlemen bravely send me an image of yourselves in your finest sartorial attire, and I will use the opportunity to review your clothing, to add maybe some steer as to what I think may be done to improve your ensembles, but also one of its primary reasons is to inspire the other gentlemen watching this series, because when we see people who are dressed well and see the outfits that us gentlemen put together for this series, you might think, that works rather well, I could take that and incorporate it into my own future wardrobe. Now, you will notice there is no negativity here when I undertake these reviews. It's not about breaking people down about the way they dress. It's about reveling in the celebration of being well dressed, but I do give the odd bit of advice as well. So let's embark upon today's journey into sartorial excellence. And today's rather an interesting one, because I've got a 3-for-1 here, because I've got an image of 3 gentlemen, and I think all of them merit some attention. So I'll tell you who has sent me this image. This image has come from Henry, and this is the accompanying information he provided for me. So Henry has told me, I would like you to review these images here from a couple of amateur chaps in their book and wine club ensembles. And this is from left to right, David, Henry and Ravi. I hope I've said that right. A little bit of information around the image itself. The gentlemen are all from Washington State, and the photo was taken during the Christmas holidays some time ago. We did try to take our watches visible but for your viewing, but it was a little blurry. I am wearing an Orient Bambino. Okay, great choice. We'll come to that when we go along. So, David, Henry and Ravi, or Revi, let's have a look at the way you are dressed here. Now, firstly, let me say, what a wonderful thing that you're all members of a book and wine club, because let's never forget that part of being a gentleman isn't only in the attire that we choose to clothe our bodies with, but it is about the way that we attire our minds as well. It's about stretching your mind, always seeking personal development, learning more. And a book club is a fabulous way to do that. And a wine club. You know, I do have the odd glass of wine. I had a glass of wine with my lady wife last night over dinner, and learning more about the art of winemaking is wonderful. But certainly being a member of a book club, what a great opportunity to dress up, spend time with like-minded people whilst developing your own sense of character and your own knowledge of the world around you. So already you're doing well in my book. So let us start from the left, and let's remind ourselves, the left is David. David's not the author, he is one of the gentlemen who is in the little collection. So let me have a look at this image of David here, and let me start from the ground up. My initial thought is David has curated a rather lovely, conservative and traditional outfit, but let's look a little deeper into the component parts which make me think that he is rather well dressed. And as I always do, it's become a habit now, I start from the ground up, because for me shoes are a very important part of a gentleman's outfit. And what I can see here worn by David is a pair of semi-brogue Oxford shoes in black. Now for me, this is my habitual choice of footwear when I'm in rather smarter situations. As I think I've mentioned several times, I'm not a huge fan of the black cap to Oxford. I find it just a little plain and little austere. It doesn't bring enough character and inspiration to my outfit, and I like the nice the nice balance that a semi-brogue brings. It's not a full brogue, which tends to be a little bit more casual, but the broguing on the medallion, and in this case, around the vamp and so on with the shoe, it's just enough. Very nice. And this is a particularly nice pair. I can see it appears to be a leather sole, Goodyear welted from initial glance, and a well executed Oxford shoe with semi-broguing. My only observation for my good friend David here is that whilst these are lovely shoes, they'd look even better with a mirror shine on them. Now they've got a nice shine, there's a luster there, but a mirror shine is always, you know, it's what we aim for, isn't it? It's what we seek when we are aiming for the pinnacle of chapdom. And it's nice to know that there is some potential to allow one to improve one's situation. So looking up the body, what I see, it appears to be a navy two-piece suit, although there's a waistcoat in evidence as well, but it appears to be a navy two-piece suit. And the trousers that we're looking at now, the break is, I would describe it as just about perfect, finishing within the lacing system of the shoe, you know, on the laces, so it looks good when when you're stood like that, fully erect, the trousers draping down naturally. There is no pooling at the break where the trouser ends. So for my money, that's an excellent fitting pair of trousers. Moving up the trouser leg, the thing which I always look for, of course, is the crease in one's trousers, and there is a sharp crease in evidence here in David's outfit, so that is very pleasing for me to see. Whatever pair of trousers you're wearing, go to work with the iron and it'll look a lot better. I'm just saying, it's what it is. I know people don't like ironing. It's one of the gentleman's least favourite activities when it comes to maintaining one's wardrobe, but it's so important, you know, because people like me, and if I notice it, other sartorially minded gentlemen will too. They will notice if your trousers are creased and crumpled. Get a crease in there, it makes a difference. So moving up the body, we see the accompanying jacket to the trousers. Obviously it's a suit, and you know, homing in on the image, it seems to be a bit of a check pattern, very subdued check within the colours of this garment. From a distance it looks to be all one colour, but there is a bit of texture within that checking. So I like it, it's very nice. It's a two-piece, single-breasted, notch lapel jacket, or coat as they call it when it's part of a suit, and it's got flat pockets, it's got everything that one would expect to see in a very nice business suit like this. And our friend David here is wearing it within normal protocols. You know, the bottom button is undone as we would expect it to be when you have a two-button jacket on. Bottom button always left undone, and it drapes rather nicely. It's a good fit. It's a lovely jacket. It provides a good silhouette on the shoulder, making one look rather, you know, broad across the chest, which is what everybody seeks to achieve. When we're looking at the finer details of the jacket, we can see that the sleeves, for instance, allow about an inch of the cuff to be visible of the white shirt, which is worn underneath, and that also has the advantage of exposing the cufflinks. Now in this case, maybe the sleeve is drawn up a little, but an inch is about the very, very most I would expect to see of a shirt cuff visible. I would say a quarter to a half an inch is ideal, you know, just a little bit, maybe as I'm showing on my sleeve of my jacket here now. Any more draws the eye a little bit too much, but in this instance you're right on the crest, I would say, of having too much cuff visible. May just be that the jacket has risen up, because I can see you're wearing French cuffs on that shirt to allow the wearing obviously of your cufflinks, and they are quite a tight fit in the sleeve, so maybe the jacket is just the sleeve has risen up somewhat. Now what we can also see here is that there appears to be a waistcoat worn under the jacket. Now the waistcoat seems to be yes, it's a grey colour, so it's a contrasting colour from the suit itself. I quite like it. You know, I often see gentlemen wearing contrasting waistcoats, and in a casual situation such as, you know, a book club or a wine club, as we've discussed here, I think it works quite well. It draws the eye, it adds an element of the gentleman's personality. One might describe it as a bit of minor sprezzatura within the outfit, but light grey is not going to hurt anybody's feelings. It goes quite well with the navy of the jacket. I would suggest any other colours would have gone quite nicely there too, but yeah, look, it looks okay. When we're looking at the shirt which is worn, it's a white shirt, it's got a pretty standard collar on it, and it again appears to be a nice fit on this young gentleman who's got, you know, quite a lean physique, so his clothing looks rather nice upon him. And yeah, no arguments there at all. Let's look at the accessories that are visible to the eye. So I've already mentioned that David here has a cufflink, and yes, draws the eye, visual interest. It's exactly what we want to see. We see that he's wearing an analog dress watch, which has a gold case. It's got what appears to be a sort of linen or ecru coloured dial, and a black leather or dark leather strap is visible anyway. Black leather, I would suggest, because he's wearing black leather shoes, and one's goal would be always to attempt, at the very least, to match the leathers in one's outfit. So yeah, it's a lovely watch. It's exactly what one would expect and hope that you would wear as a dress watch. It's not too large. It's not some of these dinner-shaped or dinner plate sized wrist watches you see in this day and age. I mean, I'm a bit guilty here today. I'm wearing a sports watch myself with a 40mm dial, but you know, this is probably, I'm casually dressed, to be honest. I'm not going out to a special event, so I'm wearing my sort of daily watch. But in a situation like this, a beautiful watch and a lovely size, good proportion for the gentleman wearing it. We also see at the breast pocket of the suit that we have a white handkerchief, which is worn in a presidential or straight fold. Ideal, I love it. Just the right amount poking out in a straight linear line, perfect. And at the neck, what I would describe as a salmon pink solid colour necktie, which appears to be worn in a 4-in-hand knot, which has allowed the creation of a wonderful dimple just below the knot. And to my mind, do you know what, David? There is virtually nothing I can say here which would improve your look. I like everything that you've put together. It works rather well. It's nice, it's casual, a little bit of sprezzatura there because you've got that differing colour on the waistcoat. But no, the only things I would suggest, if you want to really take it up a notch, you know, if you imagine your style volume is at around about 8 or 9 at the moment, you could take it up a notch by getting a mirror shine on those shoes and maybe being a little careful about the length of the sleeve of the shirt, a little bit too much being visible. But other than that, I rather like it. So let us move along to the next person on our list here, and that is Henry. Henry, of course, is the gentleman who has submitted these issues. He's the author of the email which I have received. So let us have a look what Henry has to show us about his personal style. Now, what I can see here, I'm looking at the shoes, and to my mind, with the it looks to be a quarter brogue to me. It's quite hard to see with the definition of image I have here. It's either a quarter brogue, which is a little bit of broguing across the toe cap, or possibly a semi-brogue, but the way the light has fallen, it's impossible to see. What I can say is that they're a black dress shoe, either a brogue, a semi-brogue, quarter brogue, or a cap to Oxford. It's hard to tell. Leather sole by the look of it, and a good lustre. They've had the polish shown to them, but if one wants to take it up a gear, you've heard me say it today, a little bit of a mirror shine isn't going to harm. Particularly if you're out with gentlemen, as you clearly are, you surround yourself with people who share the common interest of being well dressed. And if you want to stand out, because you're going to be around well dressed men, the way to do it is to just turn up that volume a little bit more. Get that mirror shine on there. Doesn't take long. It's a skill worth acquiring. Now, moving up the body, what we see here appears to be a pair of, it looks like almost a black suit from what I can tell. So the trousers appear black. What I will say here, the trousers fit well. Looking at the break of the trousers, the trouser ends halfway down the lacing system, perfect. There's no pooling of the material, there's no excess material when standing in the fully erect position, as Henry is doing here. It also allows us good access visually to the crease down the front of these trousers, and it is as sharp as they come. This is an excellent crease. The gentleman has obviously been to work with the iron, or if he's a lazier gentleman, he sent it into the dry cleaner and it came back with this crease in it. But it's pin sharp and it looks great. You can here see the value of a good crease in one's trousers. Moving up the body, we see it looks to be a 2-button, single-breasted suit, notch lapel. This is the most common type of suit that one will encounter in the modern era. And it looks lovely. I mean, what can I say? I can't see a great deal of it, obviously, because he stood between two other gentlemen and some of his suit is in shadow to the image. But it looks to be an excellent fitting suit. Again, he's a younger gentleman. I'm hazarding a guess he's in his 30s, maybe late 20s. So his physique is still showing the rigours of youth. And of course, when you're young and you've got a good physique, that's when suits fit their very best. So it looks rather good on Henry here. The sleeve seems to be a good length, everything fits nicely in that jacket. Let us look at the sleeve where it ends, because what we see is a white shirt poking out from under the sleeve, and I can see it's a barrel cuff shirt, so just a button fastening, absolutely fine, functional, good shirt rather. In my own collection, approximately half of my shirts have barrel cuffs and about half are French cuffs. I've got a French cuff shirt on here today, allowing the addition of a cuff link, but doesn't really matter, you know, whatever's good for you. The only downside to a French cuff, can't really roll the sleeves up very easily, whereas a barrel cuff, more versatility. So if I'm being honest about it, I would suggest that the barrel cuff is actually a better choice in most situations. At the wrist we see again a dress watch, a lovely dress watch, in fact, good size, a leather strap, hopefully it's black because it'll match the shoes, a metal case, white dial, classic gentleman's analog wristwatch. And he's already told us in his message that it is an Orient Bambino. Now, Orient make excellent wristwatches, particularly in the automatic world, and an Orient Bambino is a superb watch if you are a watch interested gentleman, perhaps thinking about, you know, embarking upon the world of automatic wristwatches, because the Bambino is an automatic watch, so it winds itself, it's self-winding, and as you know, I would suggest a gentleman's watch needs to be, and it has that classic heritage appearance. It's going to look great with whatever outfit he wears this with. The other beauty of the Orient Bambino, or the Orient range in general, very approachable prices, Japanese made, good quality, a great choice, Henry, a great choice. Now moving up the body, finally, to the accessories, and he's taken the same cue from David, and he has a handkerchief in the breast pocket of the suit, which is in a presidential fold. Yep, can't fault it, looks good, very nice. White shirt with a pretty standard collar, which, you know, no collar gap at all. The collar fits very nicely within the suit, and yeah, no observations there. A really good choice, a classic choice. White shirt with a dark suit is never going to steer a gentleman wrong. Now, looking at the necktie, what we see is a navy necktie, what I would describe in my country as a regimental style necktie, which has vertical stripes on it, and or horizontal stripes on it, and it looks rather splendid. Appears to be a half Windsor knot, again, which has been manipulated to form a wonderful dimple just below the knot, which I know is favoured by many. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the dimple, I find it a little contrived, but I understand it is the fashion these days, and in this instance it looks excellent. The tie knot has been well executed, it fits the collar perfectly, it fills the gap perfectly. I tend to favour, I'm wearing a half Windsor myself right now, and it's the knot which will carry you through most situations of sartorial dressing. So a good choice. Overall, an excellent look here. There's almost nothing I can say here, Henry, other than, as I've said before, a mirror shine. Not much more than that. You know, you're a young, fit chap, your suit fits you excellently, you have shown taste in the clothing that you're wearing, the wristwatch you're wearing. It says about you, a lot about you as a gentleman. And what I failed to mention with both these young fellows, the first two here, you know, you are clean cut. I can see David, well shaven, clean shaven, great haircut. Henry, I think in his message here, he tells me he's normally clean shaven, but he grew a beard over the holiday period when this image was taken. So a nice beard. Also, you know, nice to see that it's been shaped. It's not just grown scraggly down the throat, round the neck. You've shaped the beard and you've kept it well trimmed. You look like a pair of clean-cut gentlemen who are utterly respectable and very smart indeed, so well done. So for the third gentleman, Ravi, I hope I'm saying the name right, but yeah, there we are. I mean it in the best way. So Ravi, let's have a look what you have brought to the party here. The third gentleman in my trio of sartorial excellence. Now, on the feet, let's have a look here. What we see is somewhat different here. Now, this is a pair of Derby cap toe. These could be boots even, in fact. It's hard to tell, but they look like boots rather than shoes. They've got sort of the blunted toe box that one would expect of boots, and it appears that the sole is not leather. It looks like it's some sort of Vibram sole or a day-night sole, a rubber sole anyway. And the gentlemen have told me they're from Washington State in their message, so I know that is, having visited your beautiful state myself on a couple of occasions now, Seattle and round about that area. I know in fact that you're a state which gets a lot of rain, so a rubber-soled footwear is probably a very sensible choice. So if this is a boot, hats off to you, sir. Perhaps a little less dressy, of course, than the dress shoes that we've seen on the other two gents, but yeah, equally functional in this situation. So moving up the body, we see a black trouser. The break of the trouser, again, where the trouser ends at the shoe, is around about midway down the lacing system of the boot, I think this is. But as you can see, it's not quite cut to the same level of perfection as the other two gentlemen who have no additional pooling of the trouser. You know, there's no excess material. The break is a little more obvious here. There's a little bit more material at the bottom, allowing that kink to form in the trouser. So if one was a perfectionist, I would suggest that it might be worth visiting the tailor or seamstress and having that altered just so that the break was perfect and there was no you don't get that kink in the break of the trouser. But in essence, this is perfectly acceptable in any, most walks of life. But we are nitpicking here because unfortunately you've decided to situate yourself in a line of gentlemen who have attired themselves to perfection, so you're going to be judged against them. So that's the issue. Before I move on up the trouser any further, before I forget, the boot, great boot. What's missing? Mirror shine, sir, right? If you put a mirror shine on these boots and the other two gentlemen did not on their more fancy dress shoes, you could have won this little battle. Goes to show, effort sometimes trumps quality, and it could have worked here for you. Moving up the trouser, black trouser, not the crease that we see in the other two gentlemen, is there? Could be the trouser's a bit tighter fitting and it's pulled the crease out a little, but I think if you put a bit, the crease might have been a bit sharper here. Again, effort trumps quality sometimes. There we go. Moving up the body. What I like here is what I see here. And this appears to be I'm calling it, it's either a tweed or a woolen sports coat. And I really like it. It's got a herringbone pattern upon it, and it's in I would describe it a mid-grey, and I really love this. I love sports coats which look like this. It's a two-buttoned, single-breasted, notch lapel sports coat in a classic, I'm going to say tweed or wool, and it looks really splendid. I have to admit, I love this type of jacket. It's a good fit, it's a good length, no observations, cuts a good silhouette, good garment. Nothing wrong there. Let's have a look at that sleeve. You're displaying your wristwatch to me, and I can see that you've got an analog round dial wristwatch with a light coloured dial. What we can see though, if I home in on it, is that you've got the rather more rustic, more country type leather band or strap on that watch, which is on the lighter brown side. Maybe even I would describe it as a beige or fawn colour. The contrast between that and maybe perhaps the rest of your attire, which is quite dark heavy, there's a few blacks here, the shoes, the shirt and the slacks, it makes it stand out a little. And now perhaps we understand why people try and match their leathers in their shoes, their belt and their watch strap. Because if you don't, and in a situation like this, the contrast is quite vivid and it draws the eye. But otherwise, I like it. You're wearing an analog wristwatch in an era where most people can't be bothered. So for me, you're doing the right thing. Even though, if it was me and I'm a perfectionist, perhaps I would have been aiming for a darker coloured strap. It's not a big thing to have a number of different leathered straps if you have quick release straps, and you can swap them out depending on the clothing and the colours that you're wearing. Easily done, the work of a few seconds, and it can, if you're a perfectionist, I'm not suggesting everybody is. Looking at the shirt, now this, you've gone a little sprezzatura on me here. You have opted for a black shirt, and Not everybody can pull it off. The problem with wearing a black shirt is that you're already delving into the world. You know, the thoughts in the mind are Italian gangsters and things like that, because they tend to have the sort of shirts which are diverted really from the normal business style, which would be light in colour. You've gone dark. It works actually in this situation because you've got a black pair of trousers on and a black shirt, so it looks rather in keeping. There is a continuity of colour throughout the clothing. To my taste, and again I repeat, this is only my taste, I think this outfit, this ensemble, could have been elevated if you'd worn a white shirt like your contemporaries in the image. I don't fall out with what you've done. All I'm saying is my taste would be slightly different. I can see whereas a black shirt could be worn in a situation like this, but maybe tieless. That would be my preference. If I was going to wear a black shirt, I wouldn't wear a tie. But on you, on this occasion, you've gone for that sort of slight sprezzatura look. It works okay. And at the collar, we see a red tie with what appears to have a geometric repeating pattern throughout it, so a patterned tie. And yet you've gone for what appears to be a half Windsor knot, which fills the gap in your shirt. There's no collar gap between your shirt and the jacket you're wearing, and that tie knot fills that gap rather nicely. It's a well executed half Windsor, quite full in body, and it looks rather nice. I have to say, I like it. Might look a little better if you had a white shirt there, but yeah, it looks absolutely spot on. So yeah, great tie. Got it there. You've got it all going on. There's one omission which you've not chosen to undertake, which your two contemporaries in the image have. Pocket square. Right? In fact, if you had just followed the trend here with your associates and gone for a white pocket square in a presidential fold, would have looked great on this outfit, because the monochromatic appearance that you're cutting here, quite, you know, quite sort of darker colours, that little flash of white would have brought a little bit of interest into the outfit. But all in all, awesome. Looking up the body to the head area, a beautifully trimmed beard. I can see it's been beautifully trimmed around the neck, the throat area, and you look smart, presentable, and very, very admirable clothing choice indeed. In fact, when I look at you three as an ensemble of gentlemen, what I see are three clean-cut, smart young chaps who are cutting a dash about town. They're going to a book club, wine club. You are stretching your minds. You know how to dress well. You've got taste. You're exuding class. You are three amigos, three chaps, and it is wonderful to see, and you will get my salute as chaps at the end. So very, very well done. My observations, please take them in with the good intent in which they're made. You know, a little bit of a mirror shine won't go harm, a little bit of a crease in the slacks, pocket square here and there. Maybe think about the colours that you're wearing too. But other than that, very smart indeed, and I love the watches. Gentlemen who choose to wear analog wristwatches in this day and age, we're few and far between. It says a lot about the people that you are. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed today's Am I a Chap? If you have, don't forget, give this video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, click the subscribe button. Come on the journey with me to Chap Nirvana. If you'd like to contribute to the conversation, leave a comment within the comments below. If you would like to have your image featured here on the Am I a Chap series, and I run one of these every other week on a Thursday, please send me an image. My email address is on the screen now, or you can find it in the About section on my main YouTube channel page. If you're going to send an image, please send one from head to toe, showing your shoes to the top of your head with all of your clothing in as much definition and detail as possible, because that will allow me to review your image in the best possible way. If you'd like to support the channel, you can either buy me a coffee or join me as a patron. And on my Patreon page, the details to which you can find in the show notes below, we have additional videos for all my patrons, and we have a different conversation going over there too. Until the next time, folks, stay sharp in your clothes. Dress to impress every time you leave the house, just like these three gentlemen have today. They make us proud, don't they, when they see the next generation coming up dressing in the way that these fellows have. Until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.